if you look at power, there's an infinite power out there that some will call God, some will call the universe, some will call the Great Spirit, some will call whatever label you use. You're one with that, right? We're all one with that. If you're in harmony with it, you're in harmony with the power. Okay? You're in conjunction with that. You're in tune with that. Now, when I say you, I'm talking about the bigger self, the spiritual self. When the ego wants something, it's like a child that wants something. It tries to force that. It tries to manipulate to get what it wants, right? If a child wants something and one parent says no, it plays on the other parent, right? Plays off. Learns very, very quick how to manipulate. You know, a kid might go up to its mother and start becoming very loving to, you know, get the response and get what it wants. And then the mother's going to respond and like, and, oh, well, okay, Johnny, you can have whatever you want, you know, and they respond. But there's a manipulation going on. When you're trying to manipulate, you're trying to force conditions to reflect your wants. Rather than moving with the power and being connected with the moment. You see the difference here? There's a very, very distinct difference between power versus force.
I follow you, but I don't get that, but you get what you are.
Okay.
He was getting to that.
We're getting to that.
Yeah, I can tell he's building.
We're building now. Okay. So now here Wayne Dyer wrote his book, and he's going to be teaching, the art of manifestation. So now, if you look at manifestation, we're going to look at manifestation. We're going to say, are we talking about a perceived reality, or are we talking about what is? See, and we're going to talk about that in the Course in Miracles. It's all going to kind of tie together in here. Believe it or not, all this is going to tie together somehow. But the Course in Miracles talks about time and the illusion of time. Okay? We talked last week about the illusion of time to some degree, right? In terms of time, you're experiencing a perceived reality. That's what linear time is all about.
And that's why there's limits.
That's why there's limits. It's also why, I don't even remember where we left off last week, but it see, on my page is a little bit different because I have a whole section here, and I think you said you left off on page 2 something. I think I left off on like page 6.
1322.
Right?
Page 6, oh wow.
Yeah, something like that. In my 6 of the teacher section. Anybody remember what the last sentence was?
Yeah, hang on just a second.
Okay, and then I'll know where we left off here.
Oh, yeah, we ended right at the end there, just before who are the pupils.
Okay.
Who are their pupils?
Okay, so we didn't get to that section then.
No,
All
we
right.
didn't get to that section.
All right, so we left off on page, what appears in my book is page 3. And so it's the very next section. It's the very next section we're going to hear about time being an illusion. But anyway, let's go back to where we left off last week when it was ending with, yet time has an ending.
Okay.
And it is this that teachers of God are appointed to bring about. So how is it that someone can bring about an ending in time?
By helping you to master trying to wake up.
Okay. We've talked in here about Jesus experiencing the atonement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you can accept that Jesus experienced the atonement at one minute, then you'd have to say that Jesus went beyond the limits of linear time, right? The atonement. At 1 minute.
Why are those the same? Why is that a given that that's the same thing?
Why is what a given that that's the same thing? That he went beyond linear time?
Yeah.
Because if you're going
So you're connected with God, you're one with God.
we're talking experientially now,
Yeah.
okay? Everyone's connected with God, everyone's
Right.
experiencing God. Has to be, okay?
Right.
But the whole premise of the Course in Miracles is this. You're either awake or asleep. That's it. Now, the atonement that everything leads up to is the awakened state.
Okay, yeah.
Within the awakened state, all boundaries of linear time disappear. The past, the present, and the future exist as one eternal moment. Now that's hard for us to grasp with a linear thinking mind, and it doesn't make sense with the linear thinking mind. And experientially, you're not going to experience it with a linear thinking mind. Can't be done. You can, however, experience it beyond a linear thinking mind, spiritually speaking. This is what the atonement really is all about.
So what would that feel like?
What would that feel like? Yeah. Yeah, the ego really would love to know that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
See, the moment we ask the question, we're trying to bring our ego along with us, and that can't happen. But anyway, let's bring it back. Let's back it up a little bit to where we picked up over here, where Wayne Dye is saying you don't always get what you want, but you get what you are. Okay? Because in terms of ultimate reality, now really, truly is all there is. This moment. Ultimate reality. We're not talking about experientially now. We're not talking about perceived reality. We're not talking about all the 6 billion perceptions out here. Everyone's got an opinion as to what is. They're all right, relatively speaking, to their position. But we're talking about in terms of ultimate reality. In terms of ultimate reality, now always is. Okay? We're starting to get into deep aspects of what creation is here.
And I'm trying to understand some of
Right.
it. You said Jesus reached the atonement.
Right?
Now we can assume that he went in and out, that he was not always at this state.
Sure.
And so people around him observing, would they observe anything different when he was in that state or out of that state?
I would say yes. Oh, absolutely. I would
So
say, well,
what might that look like to those surrounding, or what effects might that have on the?
I would say this. When Jesus was in the state, this is where you're going to read the Bible, and the Bible says, "Master, we recognize you don't see the person in any man." I.e., I'm not judging, he's not looking at them from a relative position as everyone else would. In that moment, he's looking at them as spirit. So for them to make a comment, now whether they made the comment or not made the comment, it's there saying they made the comment. If they made that comment through an observation, they were conscious of the fact he was not judging and putting the people in a position like everyone else does. Right? That's what that means.
Right.
You don't recognize the person in anyone. It doesn't matter their stature in life. It doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor, black or white, whether they're on this side of the track or that side of the track. They're equal. That's one way in which Jesus was demonstrating what it means to be in that state. Everybody now is equal. They're not. And this is why he was trying to teach. You want to be just like me? Forsake everything and everyone. Let go of all your preconceived notions of the value of everything and everyone, which we all tend to have. We've put a value on everyone that we encounter, especially those that are immediately close to us, our children, our siblings, our parents. They seem to have a little bit more value than the one over in Afghanistan that I never knew before. If they're side by side, which one are you going to want to protect? You're going to want to protect me and mine, obviously. So anyway, when Dyer was saying, you don't get what you want, he's talking the ego wants, right? Here's the ego.
Right.
That one.
All right, the ego wants, but you get what you are. Now, what he's saying, you get what you are, because, and we've talked in here many, many times about the difference between the ego state of being and the spiritual. The spiritual state. Two different states. Yet, when you are on your journey and you're not fully asleep, you're not fully awake. You're creating a frequency. And that frequency is what you are. And that's what you're getting. Because that's what you're putting out to the universe.
That's your vibrational state, that's what you're allowing, that's what you're attracting, the similar vibrations, and that's what will come to you, that's what you are.
Has to. It has to come to you. Because in terms of creation, as it was created by our Creator, it will reflect back to you your exact vibration that you're putting out. Which is exactly why Jesus was so adamant about don't judge anyone or anything, because you will be judged with the exact measure you use. Exactly. Not a little bit less, not a little bit more, not my opinion, not that person's, but yours. How exacting and how perfect could that be? I mean, I look at creation and I say, God, what a beautiful, beautiful system you created. Is there ever a need for a judge in creation? Obviously not. Because whatever you're putting out comes to you. Has to. To whatever degree.
See, when I first read that, when I first came in, the first thing that popped in my mind was how many times you said it's not the words that come out, it's what you really believe inside your core.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know where I read this week, but it may have been Yoga Journal, I don't know. But they were saying it somewhere, I don't know if it's something we read. If you want to know what it is that you're here to learn, look at what you are, the things in your life that haven't worked, that have been hard for you, or experiences you've had to.
Sure.
Then you'll know what you need to overcome, and then you can look deep into it and figure out what it is you're here to experience. That was what the premise was. If you really self-evaluate, I mean, take the desires out of it, the judgment out of it. Okay, I've had this experience that led to this. Then you'll know what you were here to experience.
Especially if you see patterns.
Or I read it. In the
Especially if
book.
you see patterns. And it's a very elevated truth. No question about it. Because what we're going to read tonight, we're going to get into who are the pupils. And a lot of this is going to be tied together as we read the next page. And I think that's probably why I brought it all up. I have no idea, but...
Oh, it's law of attraction and patterns. Let's see. I think in the past year I've been sued 4 times by Morgan and Morgan. Once again today. This is the 4th or 5th. I lose track. Somebody slipped and fell. Well, it'll just go to the insurance company to handle that and deal with it, whether it's real or not. It's like all these things. It's like I don't. It's just hard to figure out. I don't think I'm asking for any of this junk.
Right.
But I still haven't figured that out.
Well, my advice would be to meditate on it and give it over. And give it over to, I don't know what labels you use, but if you could look at God, Spirit, whatever, give it over to Spirit and say, look, I'm clueless to this. I don't know. I give it to you, and I wash my hands of it. Once you give it over, it's no longer necessary for you to deal with it. When you can believe that, when you can believe it, then it's no longer necessary.
And so you don't pay the attorney, you don't answer the...
Well, no. Well, you know, it's like this.
Well, I don't know if it's a case of even when you don't believe, when you know, because I fully thought I forgave once, fully.
Yeah.
Fully.
Right.
And I mean, I forgot.
Sure.
So
Right.
therefore I forgave.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
But I experienced the same issue again.
You know, it's like this. I remember I used to be a smoker. I used to smoke cigarettes. And I remember trying to quit when I thought I should quit. And I couldn't. When I quit, I quit. Then I remember watching a commercial one time, and it was to try to help people quit smoking, and there was this guy on, and he's smoking like 4 or 5 cigarettes at a time. He said, I can put these out any minute I want. I put these out. I can quit. I've quit 1,000 times before. So the idea is, when you're done with something, you're done with it. If it comes back, obviously you were not done with it. You thought you were. See what I'm saying? If it comes back, then there was some remnant there. The best thing to do is when something comes back that you thought you were done with, and you recognize it's back again, look at it and bless it. Give thanks. Because obviously there's some residual there. I recently had an infection in my jaw, or what? I went to the dentist. I had some antibiotics, and wasn't going away. It's just kind of lingering. Got a little bit less, but it's gone when it's gone. It gets a little bit less, but either it's there or it's not. And if there's a little bit there, that tells me there's a little infection, right? That little infection can become a big infection all over again. If it's gone completely, I'm done with it. Something comes back into your world, bless the fact that it's back. Don't look at it as though, oh shit, I thought I dealt with this already. No. Oh, thank you. Now I can be releasing it and fully release it this time. If it comes back again, go through the same process again. When you have truly accepted that it's gone, it is gone. And you're in charge of that. Anyway, this is going to help us get clarity onto all these points that we're talking about as we go through the section for the teachers here. This is all the same stuff we're talking about in here, and you'll see. What we're talking about here now is in creation we have infinite potentialities for experience, obviously. We all have the ability to create illusions, to be attached to those illusions. And we all have the ability to let them go. These are basics. All we're talking about now is just basic laws and the mechanics of creation. When you understand those basics, you will be empowered to make more conscious choices. You may not accept that these are realities of experience until you try it out. Try it on for a while. Try it. I used to say to some of the people that used to come to my other groups, look, just try this for a while. If you don't like it, you can always go back to the way you were. You can always go back to sleep. If you don't like the awakened state, go back to sleep. You're familiar with that. You know how that works. You know, this is a choice. I can tell you.
Say that with a straight face, or?
No, well, it's true. I mean, well, let me say this. You'll never be able to go back to sleep and pretend you don't know the cat's in the bag. That's true.
Yeah.
But you can pretend to go back to sleep and beat yourself up some more.
Yeah.
You know, you can make that choice. Obviously. That's what creation is. Creation is a learning experience. The pain is optional. The more you understand, the less pain you'll experience. Course in Miracles will tell you, only the ego feels it's sacrificing and losing anything by awakening. In ultimate reality, what in this world that you could give up that's going to hurt your spirit, that your spirit needs? Think in terms of, now remember, your spirit is an infinite being. Think in terms of this life being gone tomorrow. What here? What material world, what part in this material world are you taking?
Nada.
Nothing. You're taking your being. You're taking your understanding. You're taking your core essence. And that's the treasure you probably might want to focus on. I mean, you don't have to, but I would say it's probably good advice. Focus on that, and that's what Christ said. Don't look to this world for your treasure. Look beyond this world for your treasure. That you're taking with you. There's nothing here. Let go of the form. Everybody's going to have their own lessons in that regard. Everyone has their own journey, and everyone has their own perceptions about what is. So it's going to be a unique experience for all of us. What would best serve me will not necessarily best serve you, and vice versa. What I could be done with, you could be just starting. What somebody else is dealing with might be something that I'll be dealing with. You know what? Trust God as an omniscient view. Always trust that. The moment you can trust that God has an omniscient view, now you can trust that it's going to unfold in a perfected manner.
God is not directing our lives.
No, but God is saying this: give me a chance to walk with you, and I will orchestrate things for you. Try to make it your way. That's the Holy Spirit. Try to get what you want, and I have to honor that.
Yeah.
Even if it's going to hurt you.
Right.
Even if you're going to beat yourself up. Even if you're going to take 1,000 lifetimes to hear me. Whatever you want, I got to honor.
What is flowing to us from God in creation is well-being.
Always.
That's what's available flowing to me. We can ignore that and go a different direction, create
Yes.
whatever pain we want.
Yes.
But the only thing that's being offered to us.
Absolutely. I'm getting goosebumps. God would never, ever, ever, ever do anything to hurt you in any way. But you, however,
Yeah.
you may cause yourself a little bit of disharmony. Anyway,
Wait, just before you get started, what was that one line you said? Creation is a learning experience.
the pain is optional.
Okay, I want that.
Yeah, that's a big one. Pain is always optional. Even though we create a lot of the pain ourselves. And the only pain that you can possibly have, and Buddha said this perfectly. Buddha said all of our pain and suffering is directly related to our resistance to life. I thought, how perfect is that?
Yeah.
Very difficult to argue with what is. Okay, what is? It's out there. Put a value. Now, I never read this, but I did read this. I read this on a sign not too long ago. Shakespeare once said, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Put a value on it, which goes right back to what we talked about in Prophet or Madman at the very beginning, and right back to what Genesis talked about. Split it up into a dualistic view, and you're opening the door to some suffering at some point. Because you're looking at it from a relative positional thinking mind. It's going to give you an erroneous view. It's perfect if you can get beyond your own judgment. Put a judgment on it, you're going to want something. I'll guarantee you, you'll want something. I want it this way or I want it that way.
Or I like it this way, or I like it that way. Not necessarily.
Yeah, well, we're splitting hairs here, but but the idea is this: if I'm here to experience the perfection of the moment, then the ego's wants and desires have to sit over here, and I have to become awakened to what is. That's the only true, ultimate reality that exists. Now, that being said, you can experience any perceived reality you want. If you want it, God bless you, go play. I'll guarantee you at some point you're going to experience pain and suffering. Even if you have a momentary experience of being happy. Because you're putting your wants and desires into something which is very temporary and tenuous. Everything in the material world is going to end.
So let's say we're drawn to beautiful artwork, we're drawn to music that we like.
Sure.
I'm sure nobody's going to say there's anything wrong with those because we don't judge those things. Are those things that we want? Are those, or maybe maybe that's part of who we are. Maybe we're in vibrational alignment with those things. So I don't know if that's a want or a being.
I would say this. Again, looking back to the Bible says, of its own self, all things are pure. Right? You just said, it's nothing you just described. I would say it's not pure. Of course it's pure. What's not pure about it? What's not pure about this? It's pretty good to me. It's pure. It's beautiful. It becomes impure when I eat with an impure mind. The artwork is not a problem. But all of a sudden I look at it, oh, I want to own that. I want that for me. So all of a sudden, it has a whole new meaning now. Rather than just experience its beauty, rather than just be in that moment, I got to possess it. Same thing with relationships. I can be with someone. The Course in Miracles would say that's a holy union. Holy union. Now, I can't wait till I make you mine. Oop. Becomes a special relationship. It went from a holy relationship to a special relationship. Went from spiritual to ego. Same person. Same moment. Put a different slant on it. Just changed its vibration completely. I did. Everything's in my charge that I am going to experience.
Another thing that says anything you become attached to will eventually cause you pain.
Obviously.
And that's where you're talking about possessing things, whether it's art or people or whatever. That's almost always going to be problematic down the line. Some point down the road, it has to.
Because
you can't always hang on to all these possessions.
Because what you're trying to hold on to has to at some point be released. Has to. So you're gonna suffer now, or you're gonna suffer later if it's coming from an ego. But the relationship is not a problem if you just stay with its purity, no matter what it is. Of its own self, all things are pure. But we as human beings, as perceptual beings, have made everything, well, this is okay, that's a little bit all right, and this is definitely wrong, and this, and we got all these values, and we put our morals onto things. Well, you know what? That is a human perception. And I'm going to say this, the majority of the world would be in agreement with each other as to what's right, what's wrong. That doesn't make it right. I mean, that doesn't make it absolute reality. It just makes it what has been accepted as what is. It's not what is. It's not real truth. It's man's truth. Now again, back to the Bible. The Bible says, if you wish to awaken, I'm going to paraphrase, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but if you wish to awaken to ultimate reality, you must become a fool to the world. And we read it, you have to become a fool to the world. Well, that's what it's talking about. You've got to go against even your own thinking mind. That's why Christ said, you really want to be my disciple, you have to forsake your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, your children, even yourself. What are you forsaking? I'm forsaking my own perceptual mind. Tall order. It's a tall order. But when we read this, this is going to back up everything we're talking about here. It's what this is all about. So who are the pupils? That's where we left off, right?
Yep.
All right. So you want to pick up right there, Mickey?
Me?
Sure, why not? You're a pupil, right? Number one?
Okay. Certain pupils have been assigned to each of God's teachers, and they will begin to look for him as soon as he has answered the call. They were chosen for him because the form of the universal curriculum that he will teach is best for them in view of their level of understanding. His pupils have been waiting for him, for his coming is certain. Again, it's only a matter of time. Once he has chosen to fulfill his role, they are ready to fulfill theirs. Time waits on his choice, but not on whom he will serve. When he's ready to learn, the opportunities to teach will be provided for him.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
Sounds about like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah,
That's
basically.
the saying
Yeah.
often heard.
So basically what the Course is trying to convey here is that within the context of time, there is a perfection in each moment. And again, we're going to talk about, and I talked in here many times about the Course saying there are two complete thought systems, right? So, two complete thought systems. Within the ego-based thought system, whenever you are remotely open, the universe is going to supply you with an opportunity to wake up. It's going to happen over and over and over until you get it. If you don't choose to get it, you can come back and do it again and again and again for a few millennia, I guess. I guess infinitely. It doesn't matter. You know, this is the thing. You can stay because there's no restriction to time. Either way, you could stay here for all of eternity in your own delusions, or you could wake up now. But if you open the door, even a little bit, the universe is going to give you information and experiences that will help you wake up. Remember what the Bible says? Knock, and the door will be opened. Seek, and you shall find. You cannot seek in earnest without finding. Can't be done.
And that's about asking.
That's about asking.
Now that kind of gets to this, you don't get what you want, you know, it's like, well, if you want something, you ask for it, I mean, but you're not likely to get what you need unless you're in the right vibrational mode to accept that.
Yeah, basically.
In the art of allowing, you know, you got to be in the right vibrational frame to attract whatever it is you're ready for.
Absolutely. The more awake you become, the more consciously cognizant you become of that moment. And I've heard it in here many times, how we've caught ourselves waking up, or we've caught ourselves having another relapse. Whether it lasts for a moment, a week, a month, or whatever the duration is irrelevant. The point is that you can see the difference in those two states. You can see when you catch yourself having a ego-based thought system all over again and getting caught just when you thought you were out. You get sucked right back in again. Anyway, let's go to 2. You want to pick up, Gary?
In order to understand the teaching, learning plan of salvation, it is necessary to grasp the concept of time that the Course sets forth. Atonement corrects illusions, not truth. Therefore, it corrects what never was. Further, the plan for this correction was established and completed simultaneously, for the will of God is entirely apart from time. So is all reality, being of Him. The instant the idea of separation entered the mind of God's Son, in that same instant was God's answer given. In time, this happened very long ago. In reality, it never happened at all.
Now there's another big one. We've talked about this in the past. Remember, I've said many, many times in here that the dimensions of time and space, are an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Course is saying right here. In reality, it never happened at all. Now, how can we make sense of that? Let's go back to our story of the Garden of Eden. Let's talk about what life is.
What never happened at all?
All the pain and suffering that people are experiencing.
Because it's an illusion.
It's an illusion. That's it. It's a dream. It's a nightmare. It's whatever the hell you want to call it. But it's not reality. As Einstein said, linear time, the past, the present, the future is nothing but an optical delusion of consciousness, albeit a persistent one. And as long as you entertain the judgmental mind, as long as you have an attachment to form, it must continue for you. Because you fueled it. You fed it. And it answered to you. We're talking about experience now.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a dream. The dream will last as long as you fuel it. Like the Freddy Krueger movie, right? The more you feed the monster, the bigger the monster gets. If you just withdrew the energy that you were feeding in, it disappears.
I've never seen Freddy Krueger, but
No, I never did either. I'm only going by the concept of what, what I heard about.
Merlin, that's what they did in Merlin. They turned Madge, the witch, they turned around on her and said, you don't exist, and she disappeared.
There you go.
Yep.
Same concept. Same concept. You fuel something, your fears. Fears, if you're afraid of something, a fear comes into your mind. Holy shit, oh my God, what about this or what about that? And you start dwelling on that. The more you dwell on it, the more you're feeding it. The more you feed it, the bigger it gets. You've empowered it. Guess what the universe is getting from you? You
Make
want
this
bigger fears.
Make this drama big.
Make this drama big. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to come. It has to. You just invested in it.
Starting you and your ego.
Fear is not without power. It's very, very powerful. It may not be real, but God help you if you entertain your fears. So anyway, Peggy, you want to pick up 3?
Sure, just find it. There we go. Okay.
Yes, pretty good.
I know. The world of time is the world of illusion. What happened long ago seems to be happening now. Choices made long since appear to be open, yet to be made. What has been learned and understood and long ago passed by is looked upon as a new thought, a fresh idea, a different approach. Because your will is free, you can accept what has already happened at any time you choose. And only then will you realize that it is always there. As the Course emphasizes, you are not free to choose the curriculum or even the form in which you will learn it. You are free, however, to decide when you want to learn it. And as you accept it, it is already learned.
Okay, so now the Course also talks about all of time and space will accommodate your choice. In other words, the way creation works, creation is always there to agree with you. even in a dream, even in the delusional state that most people are living in, the universe will support what they believe in terms of experience. Remember the Bible saying, God will give them delusions to believe even their own lies. It's interesting how all this stuff ties together.
I went once with some friends to an ashram over on in Sebastian. But anyway, on the way, we stopped by a conference for What to Believe. And there was this woman that we met there. She was well dressed, well educated, and was a nomad. And she joined our group and came with us up to this ashram and knew all about all the statues. It was very interesting. And it was like, well, how are you going to get home? She goes, it'll provide. And it was like, wow. But I don't think I have the guts to live quite that free. I mean, literally, that's not worried about how retirement's going to come along. It's just going to happen. You know? But then on the flip side, you wake up, or there's so many people that I know that they're struggling when they're older because they didn't prepare. But this person just, and it seemed to work. So
Okay, yeah, but the person who's struggling because they didn't prepare is struggling to maintain an image that they were holding as to the form that retirement should take, right? There's their struggle.
What it should look like.
What it should look like. It's not showing them the picture that they wanted. This retirement's not what I wanted. I want this and I want that. But what if they could let that go? What if they could be happy sleeping under the bridge? Where's the problem?
Well,
then there wouldn't be a problem, would there? No. In other words, when we hold an image of what we think things are supposed to look like, and then they don't conform to our image, then we have a problem. But if you accept it,
that's no different than placing a value on something.
there you go. Exactly right. Person, place, a thing. You place a value on a person, place, a thing. You're coming from ego. Now, from a human perspective, well, I grew up in this country. I mean, I'm not exactly a stupid person. I understand certain things here. I understand that when I was a kid thinking, oh, I wanted to retire when I was like 35 years old, and I thought, well, let me see, okay, how do I do this? Well, I gotta plan, I gotta work hard, I gotta start my business, I gotta do this, and I map it all out. Obviously, you're gonna get from here to here, you have to see where you wanna go. Well, I also understand that in this world, that's how things work. Can we do that? Sure, obviously. Is that going to bring me enlightenment? No. It's going to bring me the picture I wanted, maybe. Can I achieve that? Sure. We can have whatever we want in this world. So now you have to pick your treasure. Like Jesus said, don't look to this world for your treasures. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about the clothes you're going to put on your back. Don't worry about the food you're going to eat. Oh shit, I can't do that. Are you kidding? If I don't worry, it's not going to be there. Well now, again, remember, as you believe, so shall it be. That woman that you were just talking about, she has a belief, I don't have to worry about it, and it will be there. Guess what? In her reality, it will be. It will be. Why? You don't get what you want, but you get what you are. In that moment, she's trusting, she believes it's there, she don't have a problem in the world. Because the universe hears her, oh, you're trusting, it's there, you don't have a problem with anything, it is there. See how it works? Now, that's all good for her, but God don't like me that much. God don't like me that much, but no, you know what I'm saying. In other words, my mind can't accept that. My mind can't accept that because I have witnessed in this world so many people struggle, and I've bought into that. And if I buy into their struggle and I accept that, and I accept I got to take care of myself, and I got to preserve, and I got to prepare for the future, then that's my reality. Obviously.
Small r.
Small r.
It'd be nice if we had some little exercises we could do to try to train our faith and increase our. It's got a bunch of them in the middle, doesn't
It's got, you know what? That's what this book is all about.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not always right. I'm just seldom wrong.
Well, you know, this last paragraph reminds me of the story you tell. Is it Tesla, the inventor? Because that's exactly what he said. Choices made long ago appear to be open and yet to be made. What has been learned and understood and long ago passed by is looked upon as a new, fresh idea. It was always there.
Always there.
You just tapped into it.
We're getting into quantum mechanics now.
Yeah.
This is what quantum mechanics is all about. Science is starting to touch on these higher realities, which is great. You know, because here's the problem. From a human perspective, our belief systems, the only thing that's standing in the way of our experiencing our true self is our perceived reality that we have adopted as our beliefs. This is my belief. I don't give a shit who tells me different. That's what I know to be true because I've experienced. Not what you experienced, but what I've experienced. But remember, if I'm coming from an ego, I'm not experiencing ultimate reality. I'm experiencing a perceived reality. So you have to make a decision at some point in time. Either your perceived reality is your God and your truth and nothing's going to sway you from that, and go and enjoy it. At some point, you may be open to something else. When you're ready for it, that's why the Course says, this is a required course. It's a required course. Everyone has to at some point deal with this if they're going to wake up. But you decide when. You don't have to, nobody forced you all to come tonight. This is a decision you made. You can be here, you can be next door having a beer. Whatever you want. We all make decisions as to what we want to invest in. If you wish to invest in understanding, then invest in understanding. You'll accept it at your rate, at your pace. And normally, you're not going to be able to work and get past your own beliefs until you have your own experiences to validate the new belief. That's what the Course talks about. And you'll have them over and over and over again, as long as it's necessary. As long as you take, as long as you call for it. God is ever patient and has all of eternity to let you just flounder. Anyway, let's see.
Eternity, right?
You have eternity. Okay, number 4. Time really then goes backward to an instant so ancient that it is beyond all memory, and past even the possibility of remembering. Interesting. Yet, because it is an instant that is relived again and again and again, it seems to be now. Remember Ecclesiastes, there is nothing new under the sun? And thus, it is that the pupil and the teacher seem to come together in the present, finding each other as if they had not met before. The pupil comes at the right time to the right place. This is inevitable, because he made the right choice in that ancient instant, which he now relives. What the Course is trying to convey here, it's trying to help you let go of linear time. You see that? Do you see where it's hinting at this? That everything is happening in a now moment? It's trying to open your mind to the fact that you have infinite potentialities to experience, but they're all happening now. Now. Okay? That's what it's trying to lead you to. Mm-hmm. If you hold that thought in mind, it's going to help add a little clarity as you go along here. So, has the teacher too made the inevitable choice out of an ancient past. God's will in everything, but seems to take time in the working out. Let me reread that one. God's will in everything, but seems to take time in the working out. Seems to. But what could delay the power of eternity? So the Course is trying to say this. What is stronger than your perceived reality. It's inevitable. So basically it's trying to help you readjust your thinking. It's trying to open the door to trusting God more than you trust yourself. Because if you can't trust God, if you can't trust what is, you have no choice but to stay with your perceived reality. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, you want to pick up that last chapter, Mick?
Oh, yeah. But when pupil and teacher come together, a teaching-learning situation begins. For the teacher is not really the one who does the teaching. God's teacher speaks to any two who join together for learning purposes. The relationship is holy because of that purpose, and God has promised to send His Spirit into any holy relationship. In the teaching-learning situation, each one learns that giving and receiving are the same. The demarcations they have drawn between their roles, their minds, their bodies, their needs, their interests, and all the differences they thought separated them from one another fade and grow dim and disappear. Those who would learn the same course share one interest and one goal, and thus he who was the learner becomes the teacher of God Himself, for he has made the one decision that gave his teacher to him. He has seen in another person the same interests as
Yeah, I
his
live right
own.
over here. I can show you
Okay,
the place
so,
afterwards if you want. There's a bunch of, I mean,
teacher and
there's
student. Teacher and student.
But like,
Rumi said something
Pretty neat.
which ties this together also.
It's up to you.
Was it Rumi? No. I read something. It was in Zen Flesh and Bones. And the title was called
So they go back on the 23rd. We go back.
The Giver is the Receiver.
So I've been out of school
Okay.
since.
And it has to do with the same concept here. The giver is the receiver. And the situation where two people come together and experience something. If two egos come together and they're fighting with one another, right? In that moment, they're joined in experience, right? They're having an experience that they can't separate themselves out of because they're there. If two people come together and move beyond the perceptual thinking mind
16, 17-year-olds.
and share an instinct, they're joined in the experience.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And that seems cool.
Both are experiencing this moment.
Your work as a bookkeeper right now?
If both are choosing to see it through the ultimate vision of agape love,
I got you. Just learn the ropes, basically.
they are in the now moment. They're in the now moment, touching, experientially, touching God.
You chewing?
Can't separate these two.
Oh, okay.
Out of all of the possible experiences that could be,
Oh, okay.
and all of creation, have one moment.
Businesses and stuff, like selling the businesses.
This would say that's a miracle.
Where you live.
Just had a miracle. You move from a perceptual view
That's where my school is at.
to what is.
Plantation Road.
And it's timeless. brought you to reality. When you move into reality, you move outside of the boundaries of linear time. Because linear time belongs to a perceptual mind, and the perceptual mind keeps it alive as long as it buys into its own perceptions. Let go of all perceptions, you're back to reality. You find out, at some point, all of that was an illusion. Remember Buddha? Are you a god? You an angel? You a saint? I'm awake. Duh, I'm awake. Here I am. Here we are. Different interaction now. In my book, I said you can react or interact.
You go back to Brazil often?
When you are experiencing agape love, you are interacting.
Back there?
I'm looking at the painting, I'm one with that moment, I'm not separated from it, there's nothing wrong with the painting, there's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with anyone around, there's nothing wrong with creation. Go into a perceptual mind, put a value on this moment, try to make this mine, try to buy into any aspect of it. I lost the perfection of the moment.
It all seems like pretty easy going.
One is timeless, one is rooted in time. Rumi, when he said the eye goes blind when it only wants to see why, was basically saying the same thing, that when you are with the moment, it's fine. Analyze that moment, you've lost it.
These guys are the philosophers.
Physicists today, remember we're talking about physicists talking about quarks and photons and the observation, and they say the moment you observe a photon, you alter its properties because of the energies that you are interjecting into that, and now it's in an altered state.
Sounds like physics or astronomy or something.
Every thought you have is creative. If you put a value on a moment, you're altering the vibration of the moment. You're stepping back into time rather than experiencing eternity.
So what do you enjoy doing with your spare time?
These are high states, but
Go to school.
I know one thing. If we're talking about it and you're sitting here, then you're ready to hear it.
Just try to relax.
I don't know when you're ready to accept it, but you're ready to hear it.
Yeah. You go to the beach.
Well, you can tell when you walk in someone's home. It can feel thick and heavy. You can't wait to get out of there. Or it can be light and airy and real welcoming. Or
Sure.
somewhere in between.
Everything's energy.
You really feel
Everything's energy and vibration. Everything's energy and vibration. Electromagnetic energy is the substance that all things
Yep.
are made from. And when you want to see reality, you have to remember that thought itself is electromagnetic energy, which is going to interact and play with the other fields of energy, whether it be this dimension or various dimensions within time and space. How could it work any other way?
What's that? Oh, yeah? Who'd you go with?
That's why when I looked at creation, the way God showed me creation, I thought, oh, God, this is so, wow. I mean, it's wow. I take my hat off to God. I say, son of a bitch, what a beautiful job God did. Look at this. Look at how it all works. What a perfected state of consciousness we get to play in. Just don't buy somebody else's judgments. Don't buy their opinions.
Yeah, one of my friends went to one of those. He saw a guy naked.
Remember Shakespeare? To thine own self be true. Be true to who you are and your relationship to that which is.
Especially with
Let it be. And you will find your way. Rest assured, no one is going to be left outside of the spectrum of creation. And no one is not going to be assisted in every step.
Yeah, I went to Miami Beach last weekend.
Everybody has
On the
to.
beach where the-
God would not
was driving around.
differentiate anyone in creation and pick one. And that's what, again, the Bible says. God doesn't respect a person in any man. Doesn't matter who they are. The highest or the lowest, they're exactly the same to God. They're all God's children. They're all equally created. Doesn't matter their stature. Doesn't matter what their thoughts are. Doesn't matter whether
Not
they're
really.
good or bad.
Colorado in April, we went skiing.
To God,
Furthest west I've ever gone.
They're perfect.
Go out there. It's like 9 or 10 feet.
Course is going to tell you when you're all done with all of this, when you finally wake up, you're going to find out you never went anywhere.
Yeah.
Except only northeast.
Now that's a hard one for us to wrap our minds around again. But the ego mind's going to be looking, saying, well, yeah, but
Have you ever seen snow?
what am I going to experience?
He's a little deceptive, man.
You know, yeah, but I got to be able to, if I can't see what I'm going to experience, how do I know I want it? We'll get to that.
Get a test drive it first.
Yeah. Well, actually, you get to test drive this, don't you? As you're growing,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
test
this,
driving.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely you are. And if you didn't like,
Well, you
if
don't
you
get to
didn't,
test drive it all the way. I mean, I guess some people do.
well,
I mean, you can if you choose to.
yes,
You can if you choose
exactly.
to. But I think a lot of us choose to, but we don't really choose to, or else we would.
Exactly. And that's why you're here, and I'm sharing with you how it works, so you understand it better, so that you can make a more conscious choice. So then you can experience more and make a more conscious choice. See how it works? It builds on itself. It's accumulative.
That's probably what, it's probably the reflection of the snow or something.
The more you know, the first time you touched it, yeah, right, that was different, but interested, then you have a little more. The more familiar you become with that vibration, the more familiar you become with true agape love, the more you're going to understand. And the course we're going to talk, as we get deeper into it, we're going to talk about joy.
That's cool.
Not the joy that the ego mind would think about when you go to the amusement park. but the joy of just pure being, which you can't put words to.
Coral Springs, okay, that's outside Miami.
But it's there.
That's nice.
And it's a gradual building.
How long have you been in
Yeah,
Florida?
it will happen that way for most people.
Wow. we've only been
I had
three.
a little bit different experience in that
High school job.
I saw it all in its completed
Oh,
state,
yeah, I remember you told me.
and then started come back here and build back to that. Most people build to it and then have it. I had the opposite. It's like I had the experience, then wrote the book. Most people read